Welcome to my kitchen. I am Bee from Thermomix, and it is such a privilege to have you in my kitchen today, and hope you'll make yourself at home, sit back and enjoy today's session. If there are any questions about the recipe I'm making or about anything regarding your Thermomix or how you would like to purchase one, please drop me a line and I'll be happy to help. So I will be making a wonderful recipe that I haven't made beforehand. It is called Leek Quiche and it is available on Cookidoo, so please go ahead and have a look at that recipe. What I will do is walk you through the first step, which is actually making the base. It is gluten-free, so please do yourself a favor and call up this recipe on your machine, Leek Quiche. And I'm going to walk you through the first part because I wanted to prepare this ahead of time. So I'll walk through, excuse me, I will walk through the recipe with you and you can see the finished result here, and then we'll continue with the rest of the recipe. So what we're going to do is start cooking, and it asks for you to preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius and then set aside your basin or your container, I should say, of what you'll be using. It says a fluted tin, but I didn't have that. I used my glass Pyrex dish instead. So the first ingredient we'll be adding in is 100 grams of blanched almonds. I don't purchase blanched almonds. I actually purchase the one with the skins on, and that is why you will notice that my crust is not white. But if you prefer to have that and make it a lighter color so it does look like a traditional pastry, go ahead and use that blanched almond. So, but it's really tough to get some stuff nowadays, so sometimes we have to substitute and use what we have. All right, the next ingredient is 40 grams worth of sesame seeds that will be weighed into your bowl, as well as 200 grams of rolled oats, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and that will be blitzed together for 1 minute on speed number 9. So that will make your base portion of your crust. You will then add in 125 grams worth of filtered water and blitz that up again for another 10 seconds on speed 6. Now, when you pull that out of the jug, it will become, it looks almost wet. But the more you work it and the more you touch it, it will become harder. What I did in my case, I just put on a glove and I used the back of my hand to manipulate it around my crust, my container. And then it does actually say in there the mixture may be sticky, but it will firm up with time. So put that into your container, disperse that, and then get a baking piece of paper and put in your weights and bake it like you would ordinarily do with your crust or your pastry. That will obviously be weighted down with some rice or some dried beans, and that will be baked in 180 degrees for 18 minutes. Then pull that out, and then we'll start with the rest of your recipe. So it does just say they remove that out, take those weights out of that, and let that obviously get filled with this portion of the recipe, which is your filling. A little side note, it does say there also to make sure that you reduce your temperature of your oven to 160 degrees Celsius, and then it will obviously cool down while you're making the rest of the ingredients for the filling. So first things first is 3 cloves of garlic. I have those in here and I'm going to chuck everything in. 1 long red chili. If you don't like chili, just leave that out. And then keep the seeds if you love the heat. 3 sprigs of fresh parsley. I'm going to show you my tip instead if you don't have it, which is basically to just use the dried version or whatever herbs you have. So I'm going to use a teaspoon of that. And then put that in for 4 seconds, but I just realized, let me just go back there. Yes, I skipped over the brown onion. So 1 brown onion that's cut in half, 3 cloves of the garlic, 1 chili, and then your parsley or the dried herbs that you'd like to use. Then what you're going to do is place your lid on and then this will process for 4 seconds on speed number 7. So this will chop up your ingredients. Right, then what we're going to do is scrape down the sides and add in our olive oil. You can use any oil that you have, it's no problem. I'll just show you what this looks like. So that has made life a lot easier. I'm not going to go too close to there because I don't want to start crying on TV or online, I should say. And then just put in your 40 grams worth of your olive oil. So pour that in, and then what we're going to do is cook this off for a couple of minutes. Wow, that chili is really strong. Oh wow. All right, before I do that, just to let you know, we will be adding in also 2 leeks. Always make sure you utilize the white portion of your leek, and it's just going to be sliced. It does say they're 5 centimeters thick. I'm going to put that in. It says approximately 400 grams. So if you don't have a large leek, make sure you get a couple from the shop. I know at the moment they're about $4 a leek, which is quite expensive, but it's a treat for us this evening, so that's why we're going to be having this one. So there we go. Pop that in. We don't have to process anything because those were chopped already. And then that will cook for 5 minutes on 120 degrees Celsius, and then speed number 1 and on reverse. So for those of you that don't know, when you see the reverse function, which will be indicated at the bottom right of your dial where your speed is, so it's a back arrow, what that basically means is your machine will continue to stir for you. That means you don't have to stand there like you ordinarily would near your stove with your spoon and stir your items. You can walk away. You've got 5 minutes to be prepping another element of this recipe, cleaning up dishes, or doing whatever it is that you need to do in those 5 minutes. And I don't know about you, but that is one of the things that I love about Thermomix. It means that I can be doing 2 things at once, so to speak. I know my husband is always magically impressed by that I can do 2 things at once. But it's true. It can help you in the kitchen, that you can be prepping something else while the machine is actually cooking for you. So these are sweating down those onions and the leeks. So that's the initial vegetables that will go into the filling. So the next part of this recipe, I will just show you at the top right hand side of your screen. There will be a button called, it says preview, so you can preview what the next step is going to be. Alternatively, there are 3 dots there that you can touch, and it says recipe detail. So if you wanted to be getting your ingredients out or know what the next step is in the method, you are welcome to do it that way. The preview actually will tell you just the following step, and you can actually go through that and say next, next, next. So just to let you know, the next portion of the machine, the recipe, I've actually gone ahead and I've done it. What it asks you to do is to remove the vegetables and clean your bowl. And what I did ahead of time, I just read the recipe to see what I needed to do. In that next step that it asks you to do once you clean the bowl is to actually process 100 grams of raw cashew nuts. So you're basically making a meal, a cashew meal, like you would have an almond meal. So I've gone ahead and I've processed this so I won't have to do that part. If you are following the recipe along, that is the reason for cleaning out the bowl and making sure it is essential that your bowl is dry so that you can have your nuts processed finely. Otherwise, what happens when they're wet, it becomes like a paste. So that's a little top tip for you. Please make sure that when you are doing it like that, that you're going to make sure that it is lovely and clean and dry. So I've gone ahead and did this ahead of time. You will see and notice that the more you are using your machine, if you're reading your recipes ahead of time, sometimes you can sneak in some little tips and tricks That will save you a bit of time ahead. So I don't have to now go ahead and wash and clean up my bowl, because my bowl, I processed it right at the beginning of the recipe and it's all done. So little top tip for you. Alright, so the next part of this recipe is, after you've processed those cashews, is to make your base. So the traditional base that goes in for your setting with your vegetables would be cream and eggs, so that it will be able to set when you are baking it in the oven. But this recipe is a really great consideration for those of us that don't have any dairy or anything like that in our diet. So it's actually asking you to make a base with silken tofu. Those of you that don't know what that is, it's the softer version of your firm tofu that you would ordinarily use for making things like your stir-fried tofu or anything like that. So this is a substitution. Instead of doing that, we're going to use the silken tofu, and you can purchase it. Today I couldn't find it where I ordinarily source mine from. I usually get an organic one. But this was $1.99 at my local Asian store, and I love that that I can be able to find something that is not very expensive. I know the rest of those ingredients were today, obviously because I'm out of season when it comes to leeks, but for $1.99 I think that's brilliant. And it is, like I say, a dairy-free option, so fantastic. Alright, so this is what it looks like. That's been sweated down. It smells beautiful as well. So I'm just going to remove that out, and I'm going to skip on over. It says clean and dry. Skip that portion because I've done that already. That would be 10 seconds. And then I'm just going to get this out of here, and the next ingredient that I'm going to add in is going to be the water, filtered water, 150 grams worth of filtered water, and that will be added to the cashew nuts. So as I said, I've skipped over that step already because I processed that, and that's okay. I'm just going to add in the cashew nuts, and then I'm going to pull up the water, 150 grams worth of water. And then the next thing that we're going to have to do is put the lid on and blitz this for, it says 1 minute, speed 9, but I don't know if it needs that long. About that because it's basically just your mixing. I'm going to see what this looks like. Okay, I see what it's doing. It's sort of emulsifying it. So I'm going to continue. Maybe because I'm a bit skeptical. I like seeing what's going that should be fine. The next thing we're going to add in is 2 teaspoons worth of salt. I was thinking also, if you wanted to, you could substitute and use your vegetable stock for this. So I'm just going to put that in. Alright, it said teaspoon, I know I'm using tablespoon. And then 40 grams worth of corn flour, your cornstarch. If you don't use that and you are looking for GF versions, then arrowroot might be another option instead if you don't have that. So Now this obviously will thicken it. Instead of having eggs, you're using the corn flour to thicken it. All right. There we go. And then there is the tofu. I'm going to put that in. It actually says to square it and make it into little cubes. I'm just going to wipe up there. All right. And then place your lid on. And blitz this for 30 seconds on speed number 9. Before I do the next part, which is adding in those leeks, I'm going to show you the texture of this so that you can see. Alright, I don't know if you'll be able to see it too well with that. I'm going to just use my spatula so you can see the texture of it. It's quite runny. Alright, so it's going to ask me then to add in the leeks. So I'm going to pour that in. And then we're going to add in, oh, we're not going to add in anything. We're going to just do this for 5 seconds on reverse speed number 3. And then basically remove that out and put that into your container or your pie dish, and then sprinkle on a little topping. So I hope that my pie dish is big enough. I'm just going to see. If it isn't, I'm just going to reserve whatever I can do and bake it separately without a crust. So let's just have a look. Now this will get baked at 160 degrees Celsius, and it's a little bit left over. Yeah, I don't want to add it too much and make it go over. So I'm just going to disperse that. And then it says use 1 or 2 sprinkles or pinches of paprika. So sprinkle that over, and then this will be baked at 160 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes, or until it is firm in the center. So obviously just have a look at your oven. Make sure that you are checking it during the process of it. Everybody's stove is very different. So you need to make sure that you just double check that. But this is obviously a vegan quiche that for those of you that can't have dairy and eggs, this is a wonderful substitution for you to give a try. And if you have any questions about it, please feel free to message me or call me. For those of you that are my customers, if you need any assistance, I'm happy to help you. If you have any queries about getting your hands on a Thermomix, please get hold of me as well, and I'll be happy to help you. So that's it for now, folks. I will be back again with another recipe, and I'll show you what this looks like when it comes out of the oven. So hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me. I am Bea from Thermi Tucker. Chat soon. Bye.